All right. It is a pleasure to be here with you,
Alfredo.
Mr. David Umeh, a guy I know all the way back to 2015.
Time flies, right?
I met you at Impact Hub Oakland. You're an entrepreneur, just getting started. You had just launched HighSpeed.
That was the beginning of co-working days too.
Beginning of co-working, the beginning of Airbnb and all those things.
It was a good time. It was a good time.
Good time to be an entrepreneur. Why did you launch HighSpeed and why did you get into cannabis entrepreneurship?
Man, it's like, where do I begin? Well, I'll just like dial back a little bit before starting HighSpeed. I was living in New York at the time, and I was trying to make it as a creative. I was always a business-minded guy, entrepreneurial, driven spirit. I was told that plenty of times. And I was creative. Like, you have to be creative to be an entrepreneur. So my talents had took me from LA to New York at the time, working for Loop TV, just doing some video work and trying to get acclimated with that whole world. New York's expensive.
Oh, yes, it is. I'm from New York.
New York is expensive, especially if you want to live even remotely good in New York. You
don't want to live all the way out in Coney Island.
I think he asked me earlier, he's like, you're in Chicago proper? I'm like, that means like city, right? He's like, yeah. I was like, yeah. He's like, because it's important. Proximity is everything, right? So, but for that life in New York, it's expensive and you can't make it doing that just like as a creative. It's kind of like very aspirational, idealist, right?
Yeah.
And what supplemented me was being in the black market of cannabis. I was in the they try to call it the legacy market, but I was in the black market. I used to employ my California resources and fulfill them in the East Coast. That was like a big thing for me, and I was successful with it. And it was going well. It was going well until one of my best friends got locked up by no doing of his own. He got locked up due to one of the people that he was working with. In the streets they call it snitching. Somebody basically compromised his confidence and trust in that person, and ended up my friend ended up being a casualty of that situation.
Yeah.
And that hit so close to home, right? And this didn't happen in New York. This happened in Virginia. You know what I mean? He was in Virginia when it happened. He used to come up to New York, visit me all the time. We were in the same game. We were doing all these things. And when he got locked up, it was like, damn, this game don't love you.
No.
Like it's lovely.
Yes.
But it doesn't actually love you in the sense that.
So, but wait, this experience got you to go further into the industry? Because that experience, most people would say, man, you know what? I'm gonna figure out how to be a creative in New York City.
Well, I guess that is the mark of an entrepreneur. I mean, I was, it wasn't really his fault. It wasn't of his doing. We were successful. I was still successful. It definitely shook my awareness a little bit, made me like think like, damn, like it could all be taken away in just one fell swoop.
Yes.
So I told myself, you know what? I need to do something. I need to create something because my resume in this black market right now, I can't take that 5 years from now and say, hey, look at what I did in the black market. I need to create something that I can look back on 5 years in the future and be like, hey, this is what I did. So I was like, you know what? Let me go back to California. Let me hunker down for 6 months to a year and find a way to legitimize everything that I've kind of done in this legacy market.
Was that because around 2015, California had changed its regulations and there was recreational cannabis was legal at that time?
It was part of my vision. It was part of the reason. So I was living in Brooklyn at the time, and one of the neighbors, one of my friends who was renting a place from a guy in Brooklyn, the the guy who owned the property.
Yeah.
His son used to do work with somebody that I knew from California. My friend who was renting the property was an artist, and he did the logo for one of their companies back in California that had entered that market.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's hard to be what you can't see. So that opened me up. Once I saw that they had a situation going on back in California, I was like, oh wow, like there's a pathway there.
There is a pathway. And so you came back to Oakland. You did some good work. You inspired a lot of young people that I was working with at the time, youth entrepreneurship, right? When you say cannabis to a bunch of young people, they giggle and they get excited. But because at that time it was still very stigmatized and it was still kind of on the, in the underground. Fast forward 5 years, whole landscape has changed. But your business did actually not really take off here. You took it back to the East Coast. What brought you back to DC? What brought you back to the East?
Well, Oakland is a great place because I feel like Oakland is full of character. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's a character that's like, it's a launching pad. And I knew I had to start my business in Oakland, period, point blank. And 6 months after launching in Oakland, I easily became privy to like the landscape that I was playing in. Like I could already see the long-term effects of the cannabis industry here and what that would look like. And I think the key to success is to like really take stock of your assets and your resources, even if they're not material. Yeah. And one of my resources was just this East Coast knowledge. Like I was familiar with the East Coast in a way that a lot of people here were not.
Yeah.
And you have to use your resources. You have to be able to take a chance on your resources. And lo and behold, Washington D.C. had just went legal that year.
It went legal, but not completely legal.
Yeah.
It was legal in terms of you can't sell cannabis, but you can give it away.
You can give it away. And I mean, at the time, my intention was to be a delivery company. That's what I started in California, in Oakland, HighSpeed delivery. I wanted to be a delivery startup. I wanted to be like Seamless in New York, Grubhub, et cetera, and at the time, I think when I launched, Ease had just launched around that time too. I had tried to, raise some capital, reach out to certain cannabis venture firms at the time, but that fell on deaf ears, right? Yeah. To make a long story short. And I was like, okay, that's fine. This happens in entrepreneurship. Rejection and entrepreneurship should probably be synonyms.
Yes. You gotta have thick skin for sure.
Yeah, and I just looked for the things that still brought me joy and confidence, which was a place like Impact Hub. They were co-working with like a social responsibility, with the social ethos, you know what I mean? Yeah. And when I found out that they had an office in DC as well, I was like, okay, that's another reason why I would feel comfortable going to DC, taking my talents to DC. So when I went there, that was the first place I actually set up shop. It was the Impact Hub in DC, and they received me with open arms because I came from the Oakland stop. And at the time, Oakland being a place with character, Oakland was, they knew Asada, they knew all the people who were, I forget one of the ladies' names, but Oakland Impact Hub had like legendary leadership at the time.
I remember.
They had legendary, remember them, yeah. So I had got that respect just off of being from Oakland when I went to DC. Yeah. Only issue was the framework of the law, where you could grow cannabis, consume it, possess it, transport it, but you couldn't sell it, right? Yes. So I had some friends that I was brainstorming with, bouncing the ideas off, who were, showing me love just off of the relationships we had built before I even started HighSpeed. And I was like, we were talking about this, and we're like, what? How you gonna make this work? Basically, yeah. I'm like, I don't know, but we're gonna make it work. Yeah. And,
so what did you do? How did you get around that law and become successful?
It was, I don't know what morning it was. I woke up, we had different ideas. We're like, what could we pair cannabis with that made sense, still aligned with the brand, and the brand's ethos was like tech forward, destigmatizing like the negative connotation when it comes to being black in cannabis, and also just maintaining like being agile, light, healthy. Like wanted to align weed with like being healthy.
That makes me want to drink something healthy.
You know what I mean? You kind of want to be refreshed. You know, like a lot of people have like at the time, a lot of people had a stigma like cannabis is like Cheech and Chongy, but it's like, no, there's so many different ways to look at it. So somehow juice became that symbol, it became that scapegoat. And not just any kind of juice. I'm not talking high C, I'm not talking Tropicana, I'm not talking I'm talking like expensive juice, like cold pressed juice, like HPP, like raw natural flavors. It might cost you $8 for this type of juice.
So it's the combination of health and wellness with cannabis.
Health and wellness has like been a driving factor for HighSpeed from day one, for sure.
And by doing something first, that first mover advantage, did that really help you establish your brand and take, catapult you, take your business to the next level?
Put it like this. I'd say once HighSpeed blew up in like April of 2016, by like Cinco de Mayo of the next month, there were literally like 12 different companies trying to do the exact same thing. Yeah. So much so that we slapped ourselves on the head. Like we should have started 2 companies we should have created our own competition, right? These are lessons these are lessons that I've learned along the entrepreneurial journey now, right? Now I have these like thoughts in my toolkit, right? Like so safe to say we made an impact.
You have Coke, create your own Pepsi. Literally. And then create Sprite and Dr. Pepper.
I mean, McDonald's owns Chipotle.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to be healthy, you're still shopping with McDonald's.
But you did learn something because you created another business.
Yeah.
In a completely different industry.
And also I think it to piggyback off of that, I think it points to staying present, because I didn't go into this thinking I was going to start another business. Yes. It almost, looking back on it, almost feels like it was given to me, because my goal was I knew that if I could make impact in the nation's capital, I knew that at some point beyond that, I'd be able to like look back and be like, damn, this was big. We made history, and we'd be able to leverage that. Like I knew for a fact, like DC is the nation's capital. So if we could make noise in the nation's capital, we would be set in a way that like it's always be a reference point to look back to. And it has been, I lost my point. But.
It's all right. We're talking about how you're pivoting and adapting to changes in the cannabis industry.
Yeah, so the reason why Capital Juice even started was because once people found out that we were doing this loophole and it was thriving, like it got really big. I mean, like I even hired like 5 people who had reached out because they found out about us online. They're like, yo, we want to work for you. Let us in. And I've learned lessons from that too. You know what I mean? It's all been a process. It's all been a learning experience. It's the real school of life. You know what I'm saying? Yes. And I keep losing my point because I'm like really into it.
Yeah. But basically, you started HighSpeed, you launched it in DC, you then expanded it to Boston, to New York, right? You still have your roots here in Oakland. You started a fresh pressed juice company, Capital Juice. What's going on with Capital Juice now?
Like I said, thank you for that. So Capital Juice came about because when we got so big, these juice companies that we were purchasing their product, they were not comfortable with being on the big platform. They were not comfortable with sharing the stage with us. So Capital Juice was built out of a necessity to create our own medium, our own vessel. And people ended up really just liking the juices, man. Like,
and who just contacted you this morning?
Whole Foods this morning. They asked me to send samples, and like Whole Foods is a big deal. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like people dream about getting into Whole Foods, and like, I mean, just to get into Whole Foods is like a year-long process, right? Yes. So like I have entered the submission like 3 times and never heard any response back. And if you like do digging and see what to do when you don't hear a response, they're like, just try again the next time. Yes. And they hit me up this morning, 2 different regions.
So you have the DC region and you have Northern California, yes, both interested. You have an opportunity to take your juice company national. You have production right now in Chicago. Yes. So that's a whole brand market taking off.
And I had no intention on that. So I think it's also important to like make sure that your passion is in the right place and that you're present.
So your passion, cannabis is what got you your start in entrepreneurship and business ownership, but that is not the end for you.
Not at all.
All right, so tell me a little bit about, because there's a lot of people who are passionate about cannabis. There's a lot of people who are passionate about entrepreneurship. Very few people, though, are actually successful. What makes you different? What makes you special? And if you're not special, what can other people do to replicate your success?
That's such a loaded question because, like, okay, you know, a lot of people say that like this country that we live in right now, the state of America, it's like we raised a lot of millennials to think that they're special, to think that they're all gonna just make it. When the truth is, the path is lonely, scary, treacherous, dangerous, risky. There's not like the positive shit is only, excuse my French, the positive stuff is only like 10% of what you see. It's like the tip of the iceberg, you know what I'm saying? So that, I like to preach that message, right? Like there was a lot of darkness on the path as far as like not being sure if it was all gonna work out, but being present enough to give it my best foot forward every day. And I think that's what helped me when like I had to dial back a little bit. That's what helped me when we dealt with processing issues. I mean, even with the idea of Capital Juice, if I didn't have a positive attitude, I would have looked at it like, oh man, they're trying to block my shine. They're trying to rain on my parade. Yeah. Why not me? Like taking us out of it, getting that individualistic mentality and kicking it to the side and thinking for the greater good, remembering having like a purpose and a passion, whether that's like showing people that it can be done no matter what, that's more important to me than like being special. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no guarantees.
No, it could have turned out very differently. Timing was different. If that introduction was different, if what you were trying to do, it wasn't the right time for it to land, but yet somehow it has landed. You keep landing on your feet and you're growing. I met you in 2015. We're reconnecting right now. I can see your growth in the last 5 years.
And how did we meet? Like what was the pretense of how we met, right? Like what did we do together?
I mean, I think you came and I invited you to speak, be a guest speaker and talk to young people and inspire them.
And it wasn't until after that I went to go and find success in DC. So I think, again, that just goes to show it's like your heart got to be in the right place or else you're not going to make it. You know what I mean? Like I knew for a fact that like that was something that sparked me speaking to like the youth.
So I'm thinking about all the people who are looking at the cannabis industry right now, right? Maybe a third of the industry is above board and in the formal legal economy, right? 2/3 is still underground. It's in the traditional economy. There's a lot of problems with taxation, problems with who has access, all these different things. It's gonna be a very messy transition from, right, being illegal to being legal, but it is gonna happen. In 2021, right, the landscape is gonna change. 2022, we're at the end of prohibition. 11 states right now have legalized recreational cannabis, 34 states medical.
It's crazy, right?
Right, so it's happening. It's, I mean, I don't know if it was 1939, whenever, prohibition ended. This is where we're at right now. Do people have access to this industry, not just to start brands, but to work in the industry? And are there great opportunities to be had? And if so, where do you think they are?
I was listening to this song, and he said, what did he say? Something about the road, the path untraveled. There's nothing there until you pave it, right? So it's like, you're gonna have to think outside the box. You're gonna have to, nothing is gonna be handed. I don't care how many equity programs they unleash, like, you're gonna have to think outside the box, get creative, because just like any other industry, it's crowded.
Government can't create jobs? And you can't see me, but I'm laughing, right? Because, right, like government just can't create opportunities in this industry, right?
No, they can't. I mean, we would like them to. We would like them even to shine light or even to create some type of buffer to where people that are underrepresented, across the country who have been victims of the war on drugs for years, we would love to see them to open doors for that. But I've even noticed even that's rigged, right? Because it's hard to quantify something that's qualitative like that. You can't just like count how many people have been affected by something. It's never going to be accurate. You know what I mean? So with that being said, yeah, the government can't create jobs.
But I gotta imagine from your perspective, you're seeing opportunities. People do want to get into this industry. Is this, right? Like if you're in tech and you get in the early days, you can ride the growth of an industry and you're gonna take off, for sure. Right? Is cannabis a similar industry? If you get into it now, if you position it in the right place, is it a wave that you're gonna be able to ride, that others will be able to ride? Or is it more nuanced than that?
It's more nuanced, and hearing you say that just makes me be so much more confident in like my ethos. And it's like, you have to have a reason to get into it aside from just the money factor, because it's no guarantees, man. Like it's not just gonna get handed to anybody. I'm like, some would say it's too late. You know what I mean? Some would say it's too late. Like the shit is changing fast. So it's like, if you're gonna get into it thinking that it's just gonna be something that you're just gonna hit, strike, boom, I'm like, good luck. But I don't think that's the right place to be mentally. Like if it's something that you have faith in for the long term, for your own personal reasons, now I would look at a person like that, like they're gonna succeed faster than somebody else, unless you have heavy funding. And I can't speak from that angle because I started 2 companies at the same, almost at the same time with no funding.
You bootstrapped them.
I bootstrapped my way, literally from the bottom, like from the mud. Like I had nothing. And like I'm African. My parents they thought weed was crack. You know what I'm saying? Like they came from a whole other country, like with like to survive. Like they came here to like, yo, we just came here to escape all the bullshit that's happening in the third world. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Not to come here and
to do something illegal and not to make it in the professional status.
And I was able to like be the alchemist in that situation too, because when HighSpeed got on like the news and they were able to see like the people that I was helping and like, you know, people that I've employed and like that impact, their whole perspective changed, and like our relationship is stronger because of that now. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole way up, not only did they not help, but they despised it. And now it's like, damn, you know, you really made something out of that.
And you didn't do it by yourself. The whole world has changed, right? The industry has changed. Like you said, maybe it's too late to get into it. I have to disagree, because I think that so much more is going to change, right? When we get to a place of federal legalization, that's going to allow you and other businesses to bank. You're going to be able to get loans. You're going to be able to, launch new products. You're going to be regulated. You're going to be taxed. And I know that there's equity issues with the legislation. But I want your perspective. Where do you think this industry is going in 2021, 2022? And you can be dark. If you want to go there, you take it wherever you think this industry is going to go.
I think that you really have to have tough skin. I want to be honest, you know what I'm saying? I think you really got to have tough skin, man, because it's not a cakewalk, but I do think that it's going to be easy for people to finally be out in the open with even these aspirations, especially in states where it's like not even statewide legal, you know what I'm saying? The whole thing is already federally illegal right now, right? But at least in states where it's not like statewide, where it might be a little bit more taboo, I think it will open more doors. I think that people who have been in it prior to this time, it'll make believers out of people around them. It'll make believers out of economies around them. And I think that people who are in it already think they're gonna grow. I do think they're gonna grow. I do think that there's opportunity. I'm not trying to be negative. I just try to be real. Yeah. Because I hate when I'm like reading people's stories and it's just nothing but like a cakewalk. Like I want real life. You know what I'm saying? Like we're wearing masks right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, let's keep it real.
I know. We're in crisis.
We're in crisis.
Right? We're in crisis.
But I do think there's opportunity. There's going to be huge
And the
opportunity.
reason I keep talking about opportunity is not because I think, oh, life is easy, America is just the land of opportunity. I'm just like, we need to find the opportunity. Where is it? And we need to help people find it. They have to do their work, But we have to put a spotlight on whenever there is opportunity, and I know that there's opportunity because I see people who never supported cannabis before in their lives all of a sudden embracing this industry and promoting it. I see companies that have really big, backers getting into this industry. So as a small business, as a Black-owned business in cannabis, what is it like competing against the big corporate America? Is big corporate America gonna come in?
Yes, they are. They are.
And how are you going to compete?
Well, and so I think even bigger than cannabis, like we as a people, and I mean, I speak for like black and brown people, we got to get more business savvy, because the knowledge that I'm learning through cannabis, it can be applied to any industry. And it's like getting more business savvy is kind of just us learning that how corporate America works and big business, it's a lot of teaming up. It's a lot of grouping together. It's a lot of partners, and a lot of equity firms, and it's a lot of venture there's a whole lot of that jargon, you know what I'm saying?
Microsoft, Google, SAP, Facebook, Apple, so they're competing, but they're also colluding.
I think we'll be stronger together. I think what I want to see for the industry is I want to see a lot more of linking up. I think that's going to be the key to success, because that's what these bigwigs are doing.
All right. You don't just mean lightweight collaborating, you mean linking up. What do you mean by linking up? Like, how can a bunch of small businesses, small equity brands in the cannabis industry, how could they link up that could have some powerful impacts?
They could all come together and form like an umbrella company that now all these small brands are under a bigger house. And now this bigger house can go out and raise equity in that bigger house and now go and make bigger moves, right? Yeah. Because if everybody's just trying to be like, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm all about, at this point, and I think you learn this if you've been in the mud. Yeah. You learn that, like, yeah, it's fun to be like, and it's intriguing to be small, but you learn that you grow faster with as a collective, with a group. And it's a big world out here, man.
So then tell me, like, who else should I be talking to? Who else should folks in the audience be looking for? Who are some of the groups or some of the voices that you think are doing some of this important work?
Well, one of the people who really got me in a good position, I would say, and also too, it's about building great relationships, right?
Yeah, everything.
I think if you're a great person, you have great charisma, like, success is in your destiny, period, point blank. Like, you can't fail if you're a great person. Yeah, you might get fucked over, but if you're a good person, you're gonna succeed. That's period, point blank. And I say that because I was gonna reference somebody who put me in a good position network-wise and opportunity-wise. Her name is Nina Parks. And she's founded she runs an equity coalition in San Francisco that helps to guide people who want to get into the cannabis industry through the equity space and make sure that they're up to speed and up to compliance with that. She started Supernova Women, which helps to, what does Supernova Women do? They're incredible. And I don't want to butcher it, but look up Supernova Women. They are killing it.
I did after we last spoke.
Mirage Medicinal. Yes. So it's like making sure so she's one of the people that people need to be talking to. You know what I mean? I know that there's a lot of Al Harrington. I know he's doing a lot of things. I know people should try to talk to him because, a lot of this is going to be marketing too, right? Yeah. Al Harrington is a former NBA player, and those kind of, right now, cannabis companies can't really directly connect with those big corporations, but as soon as federal legalization happens, that's just
look at your social media feed, look at TV commercials.
It's about to be nuts. And again, I'm learning because
cannabis commercials at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so I'm learning, and that doesn't just happen by just like you applying. Like, no, you might have to know somebody, you might have to give up some stake and to do something, but it's for the greater good, right? And I think that if we can look at it from that approach, that like, yes, we can be successful. Yes, we can share opportunities. Yes, we can be equally as big as these big wigs, because they're coming on strong.
They are coming on strong. And we'll just kind of end with this. One of my concerns about legalization and where this goes how many people are subsidizing their incomes from their low-wage jobs working in the underground cannabis economy? And what's going to happen when that economic opportunity gets taken away?
I think, that was your question?
That's just something that comes to mind. I just want to make sure that this pie continues to grow and that people who have been dependent on it find more opportunity, not less.
Oh no, if you're a great person, you'll succeed, because if you've been subsidizing your income with with profits from cannabis, and this thing gets federally legalized, in this social media, internet world that we have, your business should expand, period, point blank.
Yeah.
Again, so it's like, yeah, I mean, I think there's huge opportunity for people if you have that tough skin and you're willing to grow. Like, nothing's gonna get handed to nobody.
That's right.
You gotta really work for it.
It's 2021 now. I've seen you go from Oakland to DC to Boston to New York. Now you're in Chicago. I assume we check you out in 5 years, you're gonna be global.
I'm gonna be global for sure. I know, I was just telling my guy Nelson over here, I wanna do business in Mexico City. I know Mexico is actually about to go legal if they didn't go already. I wanna enter new industries. And I also wanna have a strong, like, I wanna give back my experiences. Like, I wanna help lead the way in my own lane. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be investing in, at that point, I want to be investing back in other companies. Like, I imagine that
I have opportunities for you when it comes to that.
Yeah,
we're going to be cultivating some businesses.
It all got to come full circle, you know?
Yeah.
It all got to come full. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than us. You know what I'm saying? A case for cannabis.
Man. Oh, for sure. Thank you so much for this conversation. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you.
And, I hope I'm going to give people your contact info, and hopefully people will reach out.
Yeah,
and you'll just continue climbing.
Yes, sir. One day at a time, staying present, and just being a great person. You can't beat that. Being a good person, man.
Being a great person with David Umeh.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
All right.